Yeah, we'll figure it out in there.
Okay. Okay, no problem.
Good evening and welcome to the Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education meeting happening tonight, January 18th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the Harrison Conference Room and via live stream. The Board of Education meeting will be streamed live. All community questions and comments will be welcomed in person at the Harrison School Conference Room. The Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education regular public meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act and NJSA 10:4-6, also known as the Sunshine Law. Notices have been sent to the Progress, Caldwell, New Jersey, and the Star Ledger, Newark, New Jersey, and Tap Into, West Essex. Notices have also been posted at the Board of Education Business Office, Harrison School Building, Gray Street, West Caldwell, New Jersey, and have been delivered to the Clerk, Borough of Caldwell, and the Clerk, Township of West Caldwell for posting. Brian, can you please take the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Diambola.
Here.
Mr. Elko.
Here.
Ms. Getty.
Here.
Ms. Grasso.
Here.
Mr. Cipoletti. All right, we have 4 members present, 1 absent. We have a quorum.
And can I ask everyone present to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the board will enter into executive session in the superintendent's office. Right now, and currently it is 6:02 p.m. The purpose of this meeting will be to discuss personnel, negotiations, litigation, miscellaneous, and old business matters. This meeting has also been advertised and is in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act and NJSA 10:4-6, also known as the Sunshine Law. The matters discussed will be made public when confidentiality is no longer required, and formal action pursuant to said discussion shall take place only at a meeting to which the public has been invited. Public meeting will resume at approximately 7 p.m. Can I have a motion, please, to enter private executive session?
So moved.
And a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Okay. So we will now move to executive session. I'll do it. I'll switch. I won't be Dan Cipoletti.
Yeah,
I'll switch.
just there.
Are there other people that come in?
We should put some more. You want to move down?
Move down?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. For all of you that are just joining us, welcome to the Board of Education Caldwell-West Caldwell Board Meeting, January 18th, 2022. 6 o'clock p.m. here in the Harrison Conference Room and via live stream at the link below. The Board of Education met in private executive session this evening at approximately 6:02 p.m. The purpose of that meeting was to discuss personnel, negotiations, litigation, miscellaneous, and old business matters. That meeting had been advertised and was compliant with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, also known as the Sunshine Law. The matters discussed will be made public when confidentiality is no longer required, and formal action pursuant to said discussion shall take place only at a meeting to which the public has been invited. We are now ready to resume our public session at approximately 7:03 p.m. this evening. May I have a motion to enter public session?
So moved.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Brian, any communications for the board?
No communications.
Superintendent's report?
I just have a quick, short statement. We apologize for any confusion regarding the last Board of Education meeting. It was not our intent to miscommunicate the nature of the board meeting. Each board meeting always has a public session and an opportunity for public comment. We apologize for this communication and take full responsibility for people misunderstanding.
Thank you, Dr. Conklin. The President's report, I will report that Mr. Cipoletti is not here this evening. He has not morphed into myself, and I'll be running the meeting for him. Let's do approval of the minutes, approval of the public conference meeting minutes, and executive session minutes of December 6, 2021, and the regular public monthly meeting minutes and executive session minutes of December 13th, 2021. Brian, can you take the roll, please?
Yeah, Mr. Diambola,
Yes.
Mr. Elko,
Yes.
Ms. Getty,
Yes.
Ms. Grasso,
Yes.
4-0, motion carried.
We're going to have committee reports. This evening, we're just going to have committee reports for curriculum and technology, which Mr. Diambola will take care of for us.
All right, so for curriculum and technology, we had a meeting on January 11th at 3:15. The attendees were myself, Ms. Grosso, Ms. Fisher, Ms. Jacobs, Ms. Jones, Dr. Conklin, and Ms. Mandera. We first talked about family workshop series. The idea came from teacher team brainstorming about ways to support our children in development and inclusive growth mindset. We are partnering with New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Education to offer a family workshop series, and are brainstorming ways to encourage parents and or guardians to participate. Topics may range from inclusion, differentiation, growth mindset, time management, executive functioning, self-advocacy, anxiety, to academic showcases around how to support your child as readers or mathematicians. More information will be shared in the elementary and secondary newsletters coming later this month. The next thing we discussed were school-based culture and climate committees. We also discussed social emotional learning pilot, which will be Playworks. Then we discussed elementary teaching and learning highlights and successes. In December's teacher learning team meetings, teachers shared successes they had this year through their reading work with students. Primary teachers shared they are seeing a lot of progress with student learnings, sight words when using phonics first components during guided reading. Teachers shared that students are becoming more confident readers and more likely to try strategies to tackle difficult words when reading. Students are expressing how excited they are to work with teachers in small groups for guided reading. In one school, a teacher shared that she was working with students below grade level 4 to 5 times a week. And now all of those students have moved between 1 and 4 grade levels. Teachers shared that the routine and frequency of guided reading is resulting in student progress in reading. Guided reading allows students to have conversations and learn from one another. We then talked about the ESL/ELD job description. And also, the last thing we talked about was the initial Smart Summer Academy planning. It's on the agenda tonight to be approved. The academy will run from 7/11 to 8/12 for rising 3rd through 6th graders who need additional support in math and ELA. Late February, early March, students are invited, and then the program runs from July 11th to August 12th. It's a 5-week program. And that was our committee report.
Great. Any comments from any board members? Okay, thank you, Mr. D'Ambola.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to move to public comments on agenda items only. I see a packed house, so I know there's going to be public comments later. Please note that at this section of the meeting, it's only comments on agenda items only, okay? Public participation shall be governed by the following. Participant must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of their name and address. We would ask you to please come to the podium so we can hear you. Statements are to be limited to 3 minutes duration and may only address items on the agenda at this point in time, okay? Participant may speak no more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. So with that said, does anyone have anything to question or say about items on the agenda at this time? Yep, Christine, come on up.
Hello, I'm Beth Dean, Memorial Road, West Caldwell. I had a question about the Playworks program that you referenced. Could you explain a little bit more about how that program works? Who would be implementing it and the cost of that program?
Sure. Dr. Heine, can you answer that? Oh, Dr. Heine, Dr.
gonna call him on the phone right now.
God.
Can I
That's
call
the
him?
last time I ran a board meeting.
I'm happy to pass it on to him.
Please, let's get him on the phone.
So Playworks is a program that we're going to be utilizing as a pilot program at Washington School during recess. So it's designed to support the lunch aides that work with students during the recess. It depends on what we decide to use with them. It could be a few $1,000s or all the way up to $8,000, depending on how much time we spend with them, how much training they provide, what materials we get from them. So it's initially starting at a few $1,000s and we'll go up from there.
So the aides would be trained in conflict resolution, games?
So the aides are trained in engaging students in play activities that help support the SEL growth, social emotional learning growth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a program designed to support that and the idea of play. So play is at the center of activities and then the center of the social emotional learning opportunities.
So would recess then become like a structured activity?
It would be structured with Playworks. So it's not necessarily structured, it's structured around play. So play is at the center of the activities that the students are doing. So they're still playing, but it's designed in a way to support their growth and their interaction and their use of language and other things.
Mm-hmm. So there'll be a pilot program this
At
school year?
Washington School.
And how long would that last?
To the end of the school year.
And how will it be evaluated?
At the end of the school year, if it's effectively working with the students and we see social emotional growth and there's positive aspects of the program in terms of less conflict on the playground during recess time, because oftentimes that's where we'll see some of the conflict that happens. Students not understanding taking turns and all those other activities that they should be doing, developmentally appropriate activities on the playground.
So is there a pre-assessment to the program so that you'll know the growth or be able to measure at the end
Well,
of the
it's-
program?
Again, it's more anecdotal and it's going to be specifically designed to say, hey, we saw 50 discipline issues on the playground. At the end, we saw 25. That'll be part of it. A lot of it's probably going to be more anecdotal observational activities, how well they're engaged in what they're doing, what is the number of instances on the playground, how are the aides that are working, lunch aides working with them, how are they engaged in better activities with the students and reinforcing what's going on, positive things that are going on.
Is there any like baseline assessment to the skills of the aides in the beginning versus at the end after they participate in the program?
Playworks is going to introduce that to them, so then we'll know what they, at the end of the training, then we'll know better where they are.
Okay. How was it decided to do at Washington, do the pilot there as opposed to
The
another
principal
school?
asked for a program to support her recess. So we looked around, and this program's been used in several other districts in New Jersey. So we talked to them, and they're willing to come here and support what we're doing to see if it's a positive program.
Where does the funding for the program come from?
It comes from the local funds.
In no
in
additional,
Caldwell-West Caldwell. So our
So-
local budget.
is the budget supplemented by like COVID relief funds? Is that part of it?
Not this particular program.
Not
no.
this. So this is taken from a regular, I don't know.
It's taken from our regular budget.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, can we get some working mics? We can't hear anything. You guys all seem to be.
Sorry, I'll speak up. Sorry.
I mean, but even the podium up here too, the microphone's not on at all.
Yeah, the microphones don't work in the back of the room. I apologize. They're only for the YouTube. The microphones, they don't project people's voices.
I just want to say, if you just entered and you want to sit, there's room up front and there's chairs, so feel free to come forward and grab a chair so you can be up front. And anyone sitting on the, standing, I don't want you to be uncomfortable. If you want to come grab a chair, please do so. I mean, and if you're more comfortable standing, that's fine as well, but please don't be shy about grabbing a chair and making yourself comfortable.
Not provide feedback. They had to set it up special last time.
Anyone else have any other comments on agenda items only at this time? I thought I saw a hand up. And if you don't mind indulging us in just projecting.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you.
good at projecting.
Great.
My name is Alexis. I'm supposed to give you my address or something?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
42 Johnson Avenue. I just had a comment about Playworks. My family moved here a year ago, and in New York, we did have Playworks in the schools. And I just want to comment that neither of my kids enjoyed the program. They really felt like having organized recess doesn't really give them any sort of freedom. So like the 20 minutes of recess, which I totally understand, I'm also like lunch aide, so I'm around. I know that there can be issues there, but my kids really enjoyed just being able to do whatever they wanted to do for 20 minutes and not have that kind of supervision and that kind of being told what to do when they're being told what to do the entire day in school. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else on agenda items only just at this point in time?
Julianne, I'd just like to
Sure.
comment on something within our agenda today. We're going to be voting on accepting the resignation of Dominique Vetrano, the principal at Wilson School. Before we do that, I just wanted to note that Ms. Vetrano, she started her tenure as principal in the middle of a pandemic, which is incredibly challenging. And some people are good at a job from day one. I would contend that her ability to communicate with our community and understand our school environment actually started before day one. My daughter Harper started kindergarten in the middle of a pandemic, and even before orientation, during orientation, over that period of time till this very morning when I saw her this morning on the blacktop, she's done a sensational job really of, in her first time as a principal, managing through a pandemic. I'm incredibly proud of her and her time as our principal. Her tenure was brief, but vitally important when we most needed it. And I just want to wish her the best in whatever she does in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Any other board members have any other comments to make at this point in time?
Just second what
Yep.
Chris just said.
Yeah, so on behalf of the board, yes, we wish Ms. Vetrano the best of luck. Okay, so we're going to move on now to our agenda items, curriculum and technology.
Curriculum and technology. The superintendent makes the following recommendations to the Board of Education. May I have a motion to approve item numbers 1 through 9 on this evening's agenda under curriculum and technology?
Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
Brian, can you take the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Diavola,
Yes.
Mr. Elko,
Yes.
Ms. Getty,
Yes.
Ms. Grasso.
Yes.
4-0, motion carried.
Okay, personnel.
Thank you. The superintendent makes the following personnel recommendations to the Board of Education. Motion to approve certificated staff item letters A through M and non-certificated staff item letters A through H on this evening's agenda under personnel.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Brian?
Mr. Diavola,
Yes.
Mr. Elko,
Yes.
Ms. Getty,
Yes.
Ms. Grasso.
Yes, and under B, resignations for Ms. Dominique Vetrano, principal, and Mr. Gregory Paradis, teacher of theater, and Ms. Christine Marconi, I'd all like to say with regret. And thank Mr. Paradis for all of his hard work in really trying to build up our theater department. His passion, his connection to students, and just his love for children and the arts is something that was contagious for all. And I know he will be greatly missed by all of us, and particularly our students.
Okay, motion
Otherwise, yes.
carried. Motion carried.
Okay. I believe next is finance.
Yep. Based on the superintendent's recommendations, I'm going to move to approve items number 1 through 11 on this evening's agenda under finance and numbers 1 and 2 under facilities.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, please take the roll.
Mr. Diavola,
Yes.
Mr. Elko,
Yes.
Ms. Getty,
Yes.
Ms. Grasso.
Yes.
4-0, motion carried.
And then finally, policy.
Based on the superintendent's recommendations, I'll move to approve items number 1 and 2 on this evening's agenda under policy.
And a second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, Brian, please take the roll.
Mr. Diavola,
Yes.
Mr. Elko,
Yes.
Ms. Getty,
Yes.
Ms. Grasso.
Yes.
4-0, motion carried.
Okay, now we're at the public comments portion of the meeting. Public participation shall be governed by the following. Participant must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of their name and address. Statements are to be limited to 3 minutes in duration. Participant may speak no more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. And all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. Obviously, there's a lot of us here, so when you come up to the podium, if you could just project as best as you can. So this is public comment portion of the meeting. For those of you that don't know or haven't frequented the board meetings, this is where you basically get to share your feelings and what you really want to be heard by the board at this time. It can be on agenda items, but it doesn't have to be. It can be on basically anything you want to say. Does anyone want to come up and make a public comment? Yes, thank you. I'll take you as I see you. I'll try to be as fair as possible.
Good evening, my name is Vicky Sasso. I live at 15 Linwood Terrace, Caldwell. I am the mother of a 4th grader at Lincoln Elementary School. She is a 2nd generation chief and proud of it. We love this community. I am also a teacher, a 20-year veteran teacher with 12 years of elementary school experience and 8 years of middle school teaching experience. I'm here to tell you that I thought teaching from March to June in 2020 was tough. Then came the 2020-21 school year, which was worse. Now here we are. It is 2022, year 3 of teaching in a pandemic, and the stress is exponential. It is this dual role as mom and teacher that led me here tonight. I've listened to the concerns of the teachers at the past couple Board of Ed meetings. Their concerns are valid. After listening to last week's prepared statement, I could not sleep. I was angry. I felt compelled to come here tonight to speak in support of the teachers. At the elementary level, the following new programs are in their first year of implementation: phonics, guided reading, and math. Think about that. 3 brand new programs. That's a lot of change on top of an already stressful situation. How many of us have the bandwidth to learn new things right now? I'll tell you what. I tried to play a Titanic board game with my 10-year-old the other day and gave up after direction number 5. Okay? I couldn't make it through the instructions. We're taxed. Imagine, these teachers, they have to learn 3 new programs. I've taught guided reading. I know the planning and preparation that goes into it. I know the value of it. I know the constant juggle. I am meeting with these kids 4 to 5 times a week because they're below grade level. These kids 3 to 4 times a week because they're approaching. These guys only get me 2 to 3 times a week because they're on grade level. My highest group, 1 to 2 times a week. Oh, and they all have different texts and anecdotal records, etc. You get the idea. That is just one of the new programs. As far as I could tell, the math program has moved from what I consider a procedural program to a conceptual program. This is a huge difference in the type of program. It constitutes a major change. And though it may have been approved in a previous school year, and the teachers may have received their training on it in another school year, this is still the first year of implementation. It is new science. I agree with the comments made at the last meeting. This is not just a simple curricular realignment. The next gen standards have changed science instruction to a much more inquiry-based approach. Again, different. In my 20 years in the classroom, I have come to learn that teaching is much more an art than a science. Whenever I'm asked what I teach, the answer is always the same: students. It is not a content, it is not a course, it is not even a curriculum. You see, a teacher is an artist who makes countless decisions every day on how to meet the needs of students, how to best impart the curriculum. It sounds like central administration has the science part down. You've invested in rigorous programs and collect tons of data. But these teachers who have been speaking, I hear their passion. They understand that kids, our kids, are much more than data, much more than consumers of stock programming. I hear them. They want to do what is best for the students. They feel weighed down by the rigorous pacing, testing demands, and data collection. Allow them a seat at the table. Their artistry, coupled with your science, can be lightning in a bottle. I understand from last week's meeting that the district has launched building-based culture and climate committees. These sound like a step in the right direction, though. I am not sure they're necessary. There has not been one mention of a building-based concern. The teachers are communicating exactly how they feel at these meetings. What I have heard is that the teachers, the ones with the closest connections to our kids, feel demoralized and undervalued by the central administration. They asked to reopen the collegial and cooperative lines of communication that have always existed, and were told instead to bring their concerns to the Board of Education. So they did. And now we're all aware and involved. Their concerns are valid. Their requests seem simple. They're asking for, and I quote, a seat at the table where critical decisions are being made. They're asking for their expert opinions to be valued. They know our kids. I implore you to take them up on their offer for articulation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Vicki. Yes, if you could step up next. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Emelo. I live at 22 Dodd Road. I was educated in this district. As a result of my quality education from the incredible teachers, including Mrs. Callahan, in this district, I attended college on a full academic scholarship. Full. Room and board covered. Tuition covered. I've also been an educator in this district for 16 years. Tonight, however, I'm here as a parent. I have twin daughters who are in 5th grade at Wilson School. I am an intensely private person, and it angers me that administration has continuously pushed these conversations into the public arena. However, despite private roundtable discussions between teachers and administrators, our concerns about pacing and curriculum have fallen on deaf ears. In addition, our liaison meetings with the Board of Education have been cut off, so that is no longer an avenue for teachers to get information to the board. Both of my daughters have always struggled with anxiety, but it has never affected their performance or behavior in school. Whenever we informed their teachers, the response was, "Really? We'd never know." That is not the case anymore. You'd think that their primary anxiety would be COVID and re-entering into the world after a year at home, but it's actually not. My two super smart children who have never struggled academically in school are having anxiety about all of the testing and the pace of instruction. Their grandmother passed away earlier this fall, and the day of the funeral, they were anxious about missing school because they knew that they were going to have to play catch-up in math. It is reprehensible that that is what they were thinking about the day we buried their grandmother. My one daughter has a 504 for reasons unrelated to her anxiety, and she gets extended time on testing. Her first math unit test had 23 questions. That may not sound like a lot, but all of the questions had multiple parts. It was so ridiculously long, it took her an entire school day to complete. It is not okay for any child to be testing that long. The district is demanding that unit assessments be standardized, which is not necessary when there are many other benchmark assessments that are given that can be used for the purpose of comparison. My other daughter, who has never needed a 504 for her anxiety, had to have one put in place this year because she is literally peeling the skin from her hands during the school day. Her teachers have all been so incredibly supportive, and they are doing absolutely everything they can to help. Unfortunately, the administration is tying the teachers' hands in so many ways. There is absolutely no wiggle room in the pacing guides. Teachers are being assessed and evaluated based on being in the exact right place on a pacing guide, with no thought being given as to what children actually need. Do you know how frustrating it is to know what the best is for your students, but not be able to actually give it to them? To know that the students are suffering, but not be able to do anything about it? I'm also tired of hearing solutions that aren't real solutions, but a Band-Aid, and not a very good one. Teachers were told they could use one IDEA block per week on an SEL lesson. One SEL lesson per week or one visit from the school counselor a month is not what these students need. They need their teachers to have the flexibility to slow down, the flexibility to see them as more than a data point. In the past, we also had outlets for our students that were not academic. We had an amazing elementary program called the Expeditionary Learning Program. It allowed students to have a non-academic place to explore various topics and create lasting social connections. That program was cut. The music program, which my daughters have had very positive experiences with, prior to this year, I would never have used the words in transition, but now it's been gutted. They've lost their strings teacher and their woodwind teacher in the same year. We've lost 4 music teachers to resignations and an unplanned early retirement. That is extremely telling. Programs like ELP and music are important to children as a whole. Those are programs that need to have the full support of the administration and the board. I'm also concerned with the cookie cutter scripted program approach that has been adopted at the elementary level. Teachers were told in a roundtable meeting with administrators earlier this year to stick to the script because there's data behind the way it was written. As an experienced educator, that is insulting on so many levels. As a parent, I trust the frontline professionals, the teachers, to make adjustments to the program based on what my child needs. As Donna Gradell, one of the Teacher of the Year finalists, said, too much standardization takes away from the innovative teacher. With all the social issues and trauma that we're confronting in the classroom, we need to have people who are able to face that challenge and inspire our students to go above where their situation might keep them. Allow teachers to be innovators, get outside the standardization box. I'm also concerned with the continued focus on reading workshop and the switch to running records as an assessment tool, when there is so much data and research that proves them to be ineffective and potentially harmful as a curriculum and inaccurate as an assessment. Almost a year ago now, a nonprofit consulting group, Student Achievement Partners, released a negative evaluation of our reading program model, calling it, quote, unlikely to lead to literacy success for all of America's public school children. They also said, quote, children who need additional practice opportunities in a specific area of reading likely would not progress. This is especially problematic for us as a district, as we recently switched to a full inclusion model. So now we have students who could be receiving direct, appropriate reading instruction, missing out on that opportunity to sit in a room receiving instruction through a program that will not benefit them. Marilyn Adams, a leading reading researcher, said, quote, much of its content doesn't align to evidence-based best practice. There's not enough explicit instruction in foundational skills. Dr. Claude Goldberg from Stanford says that there is a particular concern for this program with English language learners. I find the fact that we are continuing to use this program a year after this report came out disturbing. Why are administrators who claim to be all about data ignoring these studies? I am imploring the board to bring teachers to the table, to give us a real voice in the choice of curriculum and pacing. I am imploring the board to remember that children are more than test scores. Children are more than data. They are children. Please stop pretending that shoving them along a pacing guide when they're not ready is going to be productive. Please stop pretending that scripted cookie cutter programs are going to solve all of our problems. It is only harming our children, and our children are the reason that we're all here. Thank you.
Ms. Emilo, I'd just like to say on behalf of the board, we're sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Anyone else for comment? Yeah, Ms. Lobato.
Good evening. My name is Mara Lobato, and I've been a teacher in the district for over 20 years, as well as the math department coordinator for the last 5 years at the middle school, and the vice president of the CWCEA for about 1.5 years. Last week, association members planned to attend the meeting, but we were misled in thinking there would not be a public forum to speak. And so tonight, I would be remiss if I did not address a few comments from the January 10th board meeting that we as an association were unable to address. The first is to refute a statement that has already been brought up about our elementary teachers only implementing 2 new programs this year, the reading and phonics program. In actuality, our elementary teachers are also implementing the new mathematics program for the first time. During the 1920 school year, a committee came together to meet with different textbook publishers to see what series were available for the K-5 world. At the end of those meetings, the elementary teachers filled out a survey and gave input into which series they would prefer. It was then decided that Investigations would be chosen as a new textbook series for the elementary schools. After that, COVID hit and we went remote. In September of 2020, since it was not clear how the year would run, it was decided that the elementary school teachers would continue with using the My Math series that the teachers had been using for several years. So yes, while I understand that budgeting-wise and on paper, the program was originally purchased for the 2020-2021 school year, it was not implemented and used by the teachers until this school year. So this is a new program as of this school year. Which brings me to my next point, which is to address the statement made that central administration will, quote, offer any help or training needed to any teacher. The teachers need to be trained in this new program to be fully able to implement it and get the highest success out of it. The middle school has been extremely lucky to have the chance to work with extremely knowledgeable math professionals, Nancy Schultz, who owns Concord Mathematics in Pequannock, and Mary Oates, a partner of hers and a former Livingston superintendent, for several years now. While writing our new middle school curriculum, Mary helped us choose our new book and also suggested to us the best order to present different concepts and to make sure that we were having the students see different parts of it at the best times for them to succeed in NJSLA. These consultants also specialize and offer similar training for elementary levels. However, when I personally asked Central Administration about giving the elementary school teachers this type of training with Nancy Schultz for this textbook, I was told that there aren't enough substitutes to handle that. While I understand that we are in a substitute shortage in the middle of a pandemic and we cannot make them magically appear, this training would be helpful to the teachers and take some of the burden off of them. It would guide the teachers through the curriculum and show them how to handle certain areas best, what order to do the lessons in, and if there are certain sections that may be better being skipped. It would also help prepare the students for the middle school, where we implement a lot of these Concord mathematics ideas. We only want to see the students succeed through all of their years of math. I know that sending all of the teachers out at once is not going to happen, but maybe other ways could be explored in order for the teachers to somehow get the training that they need from Nancy. The last thing that I'd like to address is the mathematics supervisor position. The creation of a 6 through 12 math supervisor is also an area of concern and something that Dr. Conklin addressed last week. It was said that the position would be helped to realign the state standards, support changing assessments to meet state standards, and support teachers and enhance instructional practice. As I stated earlier, the middle school teachers have been lucky to be able to work with our consultants closely. We have changed much of what we do and how we teach to reflect all of their ideas. We have rewritten curriculums and created a hybrid between our new textbook and what we have learned and received from these wonderful professionals and their workshops. We are worried that a new supervisor will not have the same pedagogical perspective that we have been learning and putting into our instruction. We feel that if all teachers from elementary up through the high school were able to have the same intensive training, curriculum writing, and consulting from these two instructors that we at the middle school have been able to have, we would be aligned from K through 12. In fact, the high school teachers have just begun working with the math consultants closely this year. In addition to our ongoing and expanding work with the consultants, the high school recently hired a new administrator who was partially hired for her background in mathematics, thereby providing another resource for secondary math teachers. In addition to this administrative position, the coordinator position at both the middle school and the high school levels have been recently revised to broaden the scope of the position to help provide support for teachers. Consistency is key to students, especially in retaining the ideas learned in math. Putting the money into more work with these women is what we feel would help them most. As math educators, we are always looking to grow and enhance our instruction. That being said, the high school teachers are meeting with Mary this year, working on, as Dr. Conklin stated, realigning our assessments to state standards, as well as enhancing instructional practices. Being that this is our first quote-unquote normal year, if working with masks on all day and having students online and in front of us is considered normal, we need time to work on these changes and to implement them into our classrooms. We haven't had the chance to show off our hard work, before another stage of intervention is being put upon our department, and only upon our department. With all the efforts that are in progress, the creation of a new position and the addition of a new individual in the mix does not seem to be wise or timely. We need to allow the process that has been put in place to be implemented and see the results. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lovato. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah?
Hi, how are you?
How
My
you
name is
doing?
Artessa White. I live at 551 Bloomfield Avenue. I'm here for two reasons. To support the district teachers, as well as to just bring some light to the home instruction model. So I'm just start with the home instruction model. My daughter's a junior at James Caldwell High School, model student, and she's a high-level gymnast. She recently injured her knee really bad, and the doctor said they wanted her off her knee for 3 weeks. So with the home instruction model, you know, we have to wait for her application to be approved, and then we have to wait up till 5 days for, you know, teachers basically to reach out to us and set something up. The teachers are already stretched thin. They're already exhausted. Now a teacher after 3 p.m. has to call us and basically teach my kid. Of course, I feel guilty as a parent because I feel like they have families, they're already stretched thin, and now they got to come teach my daughter. But then again, as a parent, I want them to teach my daughter because she needs her education. So it's like I'm in the middle. But I just don't think things like that are fair. And now we're going on week 2 that my daughter hasn't gotten any instruction, any lessons or anything like that. So when she's getting new assignments, she's constantly emailing the teacher like, can you please explain this, explain that to me? I just think that things like that, that needs to be looked upon because I don't think that that's right. So now we're gonna go on maybe 3 weeks, my daughter haven't gotten a lesson from a teacher, haven't, you know, got any type of curriculum that she's owed. You understand what I'm saying? She's a model student, and it's just like every student deserves, you know, better treatment than that. So I really feel like the model has to be changed because now she's gotten approved, but now we still have to wait up until 5 days for teachers who already are stretched thin to call us, set up some type of system after 3 p.m. so she can get her instruction. Like, I just feel like that's insane. She's a junior. This is the most important year. She has midterms on the 31st that's probably going to have to get postponed because she's already out of school. She's missing vital information. And I just think that, you know, hopefully you guys could speak with the teachers, include them in, so then maybe you can come up with a different type of model so things like this won't happen to other kids and other parents won't be up here, you know, talking about the homeschool model. Because right now I'm like stressed because I'm like, my kid, her most important year is about to miss 3 weeks of school. So I just feel like hopefully you guys can bring the teachers in and discuss that moving forward. Now I'm also here to support my teachers. When I came in today, I wasn't even surprised to see so many teachers from my daughter's elementary, middle school, and high school, because that's the type of teachers they are. They care, they're hardworking, they're passionate, they're so knowledgeable. You understand what I'm saying? And I feel like they have all went up and beyond. I can email any of her teachers right now from elementary, middle school to high school. They will remember who my daughter is. They also will remember her strengths, her weaknesses, everything about them. Because that's the type of teachers we have in this district. We've been here almost 10 years. All I do is brag about the teachers in our district, how they go up and beyond. I just want to just read you this quick email that I sent to her teachers last year because it really meant a lot of the type of things that they did for my daughter. So it just says, I hope this email finds you well. Thank you for being a wonderful teacher and teaching my daughter new and exciting things during this difficult year. As a teacher, you went up and beyond with remote learning to ensure my daughter's participation with her schoolwork and that she was successful. Teachers are some of the most unsung heroes we have. I really appreciate all you've done, and I hope you have a safe and enjoyable summer. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And with all these teachers here, I don't think they hear that enough. They shouldn't just have to hear that because right now we're on remote. Right now, they're in a very crazy year. I just feel like the teachers are already stretched thin, and now they're stressing about this new curriculum, and I just feel like they definitely have earned it, and they continue to earn it to have a seat at this table to discuss, because they're the front line. They're on the front line. They have the right to tell you guys how they feel about certain things, and you guys should come together because the kids are our future. You know, they are our future. My daughter is successful in school now because of everybody that's been in this room that has taught her. And I feel like she's going to continue to be successful. So I just really implore you guys to just please bring them to the table. Please discuss as a unit, because at the end of the day, we're a community, we're all a family, and that's what families do. They come to the table, talk it out, hash it out. So appreciate you hearing me out. Thanks so much.
Trustee Johnson. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Christine.
Hello again. I just had a request that when you're considering pacing and expectations of student growth, you consider some of the numbers of students who have been quarantined or absent recently. So every week the nurses put together a chart of absences for the state. So looking at this was the data for the week before January 11th. At the high school, there were 47 kids absent, 76 remote. Middle school, 14 absent, 91 remote. Harrison, 5 absent, no remote. Jefferson, 6 absent, 47 remote. Lincoln, 6 absent, 47 remote. Washington, 10 absent, 78 remote. And at Wilson, 12 absent, 64 remote. That's a lot of kids who are not in school. So, and also we've had, some staff absences. So when you're considering keeping up the pace, student growth, I would recommend that you also consider numbers such as this. Thanks.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak and share? Madeline?
Hi, Madeline Brown, 13 Birkenbean Road. You all have heard me speak before. I myself am a teacher in another district. There's been an issue that's been concerning me that I've been trying to find the right time to bring up to the board. And I didn't think a COVID year was necessarily the right time because I didn't want my comment to get lost in the COVID part. But I wanted to speak with you about the attrition rate of teachers in this district. And it's a pre-COVID issue. I have a 12th grader and a 6th grader. And between the two of them, they haven't had a single teacher that overlapped because the teachers are fleeing this district. Senior teachers have been here and they're staying, and there are teachers in this room that I have had also as a JCHS alum, and I'm grateful that my son has gotten to have those. But the younger teachers are not sticking around. They're staying long enough to get some experience and go to other districts, which in my opinion seem to have stronger contracts, seem to be paying them more. But now that I listened to the teachers tonight, listening to 3 initiatives in 1 year, I'm here to tell you it's not just about how we pay them, it's about how we treat them. Giving them in a year like this even more responsibilities on top of what they have to deal with day to day is not the way to keep our stronger teachers in the district. There is absolutely no reason, and again, before COVID, that my 2 sons should not be sharing the same teachers. I think it's too bad. I think one likes to have the one that the others have. They like to have that conversation about the teachers, while I do feel bad for the teachers that have to have both of my kids. That's something else entirely. But I think we need to really be listening to what our teachers are saying if we want to keep our strong teachers in this district.
Thank you. Thanks, Madeline. Mary Ellen?
Hi, Mary Ellen Meehan for Hawthorne Road, Caldwell. First of all, thank you everyone to all the speakers tonight. I have learned a lot. I will also be up all night with Vicki. I won't be able to sleep tonight either. And I really want to echo the sentiment that Ms. Brown just said. Attrition is absolutely why we're all here. And I guess I have more of a question than a comment. What are the deliverables? What is the timeline? You know what they're asking for, this sea of blue. That's why we're all here. They're teaching our children every day. Is this school year lost? Is this done? Is this concrete? Are there any changes? These roundtable meetings, can this what is the timeline that these can happen? Is it during this current school year, or is this a pipe dream for September? You know, we're all sort of speaking into the void here. We never really get answers back and feedback into what we're all saying. You know what we're saying here. It's the same people saying the same stuff. This has been going on for 3 months now. We're losing 3 months. So what's the timeline? When are we going to get some action?
I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm asking, this is what they're asking for, seats at the round table, seats at the curriculum. Is everything completely in stone for this year?
They've been given seats at the table. We have our round table meetings. We have the culture climate committees. At the round table meeting, there was actionable activities that were done immediately following that to address all the concerns that were brought up.
But can any curriculum or pacing changes be made during this current year now?
I know that there was some definite changes made in some of the expectations that were already made. I guess they weren't enough, so we'll have to go back to the drawing board. But I know that there was definitely some.
What changes is the question we're getting from the crowd.
Are you asking me the question? Because I can answer your question.
Yes.
I just can't.
What changes have been made?
So specifically, I know that the director of elementary education met and made some changes in the math rollout to allow teachers more time for planning activities. I know that there was definitely some I
have a student that just took a 2-hour math test this week, so I'm not sure about that. I guess that's the. Are these curriculum changes, are they written down, or are these just, I guess that's what we are looking for.
Again, it's the meetings with the director of curriculum and instruction, the meetings with the principals. If there are specific things that can be reduced, they're happy to do that. Again, the program is designed in a certain way that builds on the next step and the next step and the next step. So I don't know how much they can relieve. Maybe they could look at modifying some of the assessments. Maybe they could look at other curricular models that they're using now in the language arts. I just don't know how much you can peel away from the programs, because the programs are evidence-based programs. So you have to follow them in a certain order in order to build on the next activity and build on the next activity and build on the next activity, because they're scaffolded in that way, like learning to read, learning to do the math program. So it's really going to have something that they collectively look at together, which is part of the roundtable meetings. But there are other things beyond the curriculum that the teachers have brought that all have kind of been addressed. And we're having another roundtable meeting next week and after the Culture Climate Committee meetings. They're supposed to bring more tangible, actionable activities that we might be able to do.
Well, as a parent, I know nothing. I'm in the dark. I read every email that comes from all areas of CWC. I have asked about the curriculum. We used to get the newsletter. We would get some updates. We would get some changes. I was told that was going to come out with it was in a different format. Then it came and it was even shortened, more condensed. So, I'm certainly not going to email my teachers. They're doing the best they can now. They're not going to answer some questions. So we're all here. We're in force. We really, everyone, you brought us in, and we all want to be a part of it now. So we'd like a lot more communication with your parents. Thank you.
We'll make sure that goes on.
Anyone else want to come up and speak? So,
Sue Callahan, James Caldwell High School, President of the Teachers Association. I'm going to answer your question. All right. I hope that we are being given a seat and we're going to be listened to. We have an elementary roundtable next week, and I met with Mr. Cipoletti last week for an hour and a half to share concerns. I assume that's, and I thought we had a very productive conversation. And I said, I think one of our goals this year is to try to look at that pacing, because the elementary teachers in our district are suffering. That's what I said the first time I stood up here. So I'm going to say this right now. I hope that elementary roundtable next week will have visible changes to the guide that can be, still get the curriculum and still educate our children, but to allow teachers more flexibility, to allow them to be the artists that they are. So that's my hope. So I'm going to answer your question. Because you know what? We are here and we're coming back every week. And if we don't see results, if it doesn't happen this year, we'll be back next year. All right, so I promise you that. Even though, right?
Thank you, Sue.
Hi, Lori Ann Minardi, Wilson School teacher. I'm just speaking on behalf of some of the comments that were made tonight from some of our parents as well as our teachers. One of the things that was just addressed was the round table. I sit on the elementary round table. Forgive me, but I'm just a little confused because since that meeting at the round table, I myself, and I think I can speak for, I don't know about all the schools, but Wilson School have not been giving additional time, planning time for math, okay, at all. The math curriculum takes so much planning time, and it's not just the planning and the preparation and the cutting and the photocopying and the making everything, the materials, especially because I'm a kindergarten teacher, but my co-teacher and I pretty much spend every single day at lunch looking at the math curriculum. How are we teaching this? How are we tackling this? We plan the week before. We put everything in our plans. We know what we're doing. We have the copies. We get all the prep work made. But there's still the teaching. This is, as we all know, a new program. We are still learning it. A 4-hour training session in April did not teach me 180 days of how to teach these children. And one of the reasons we keep coming here and standing here so passionately is because we care. We're definitely not in it for the money. I'm sorry, but we're not. I mean, honestly, I'm here, this is my 20th year in this district. And one of the main reasons I stayed is because of this district, not for the money. I live in Wayne, and I have 2 friends that are making close to $15,000 more than me per year. I have a master's degree, so do they, per year. But one of the main reasons I stayed, between the administration, Dr. Girardi, Dr. Heinig, my principal, Mr. Kina, was one of the main reasons, and also my faculty. That's the thing that keeps me going besides the kids that I teach. I love these children. That's why I'm here. My sister, year after year, says to me, why don't you just go somewhere else? You're not making enough. Go somewhere else. You're dealing with so much. No, because the money isn't as much in my heart as working for that principal that I worked for, and the one that I'm losing right now that I can't even talk about because I'm devastated. And the teachers that I work with, that's what keeps me here. And these kids, I love teaching with a passion. How can I do my job if I don't even know what I'm teaching? The math is such a big chunk. And to say that it's 2 new curriculums, I know we keep hearing this, math, phonics first, I was just trained this summer. Guided reading, I've had a couple of 30-minute trainings in between my school day on my preps. Running records, that's 4 right there. And the science curriculum, although it was supposed to be started in 2019, 2020, we didn't get a full year. And we didn't use that curriculum last year because we were half remote. So again, it's like another new program, basically 5. And for me, myself, I'm in an inclusion classroom for the first time. So I'm learning that as I go. And I have to attend meetings for that as well. And on top of that, all of the kindergarten classrooms have a full-time classroom aide. And this was brought up at the round table. And I was told you should have one also. I had one until this year because I have another teacher in the room with me. But I have lots of needs. And these children, it's not that I'm complaining and, oh, I need another body. It's to help these children. They have special needs. That's why it's this classroom. I do not have an aide, and I have a kindergarten aide that leaves halfway through the day. So this is a lot to take on, yet I'm still here. My little kids are amazing, and they keep me going. I had a water main break and was up half the night before last night, and I was exhausted. And my sister said, well, why don't you take the day off? Sorry, my sister's like my best friend, and we talk a lot. And I said, no, I can't take off because those kids keep me happy. Sounds crazy. I have two beautiful, wonderful children at home and a wonderful husband, but these little kids coming to work is what makes me happy every day, and my teachers and my coworkers. The programs, that's a lot of stress. So I hope we're hearing this because I am on the elementary roundtable, and I don't want to go to that meeting next week for more complaining, for more data. I brought tons of data when I went last time. I haven't seen a change. Nothing's been addressed. So I'm asking you to listen and actually make change. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Keenan.
I didn't plan on speaking. Some of the board members know me. Scott Keene, I don't live in town. I'm the retired Wilson School principal, 2004 to 2020. My Wilson staff knows I'm an emotional person. This is very hard to sit here and listen to. This is absolutely not the district that I fell in love with. I know board meetings aren't like going to a comedy club, but I've been to my share of them from Dr. Heineck and Dr. Girardi, and there was always a feeling of camaraderie, and there was more of a light atmosphere, and I can just, the elephant in the room to me, there's a tension that is not, this is not the school district that I know and love. In this very room, for years and years and years, at the end of August, all the administrators all gathered together to train people in this room, all of our new staff, every year. And we always asked the staff what their feelings were upon being newly hired. And every single one, teachers and administrators, all raved and said, this is the place where I want to stay. I want to build my career. I want to build my life here. And when I hear, in the short time I've been out of here, when I hear about the turnover, that is absolutely not the place that I came to know and love. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Mrs. Vetrano, but think about Wilson School. I had no intentions as a very young 56-year-old of retiring when I did. And again, I'm not going to speak on her behalf, but this, when you land a job like Wilson School as a principal, that is principal heaven. It's a 250 student school. I mean, the parents are just nothing but warm and inviting. The students are the best. The staff is incredible. To leave after 18 months, mid-year, is absolutely unheard of. Again, I'm not speaking on her behalf. She had her own reasons for doing what she did. I'm just imploring the board, there's something here, and please explore it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Keena. Sure.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Gertie. I teach at Washington School. I've been here for 40 years. Oh, call me crazy. I was not planning on speaking tonight, but you can hear from what everyone has to say that we are at a point where things need to change. I have been teaching a long time, and I have not spent so many days scrambling and teaching from a book in my hand to my children. It makes me feel unbelievably unprofessional. It makes me feel as though I don't know what I'm doing, and yet I know that I'm a very good teacher. I also have to echo what the other folks are saying. These people in this room and the people who are online, who are at home because they have children and couldn't be here, are also very, very good teachers. I have had people ask me, should I apply in Caldwell? And I would give them the superintendent's number in a flash. I don't do that anymore. I'm sorry to have to share that. I also want to say that we have another curriculum that's new. Although the social studies was adopted a while ago, due to COVID, we did not teach it last year. The science, 2 of our new units are brand new because the company did not finish making them. So we're teaching out of our manuals in 2 parts of our science this year. So really, we kind of have like 4.5 new subjects, maybe 5. It's ridiculous. We all have so much to bring to the table, and to have to go through each of these little steps for every subject. When we have to do that, you are missing all of the wonderful things that these people bring to our school district. And I would love to be able to say to people again, yes, please do apply in Caldwell. Please come here. But at this time, I don't think I can say it, and that saddens me. It just saddens me. So thank you for listening, and I hope we can see some change.
Thank you, Mrs. Gertie. Thank you. Anyone else?
I couldn't have Mr. Kingdom speak. So my name is Diana DaCosta, and I'm at 12 Seymour Street in Caldwell, and I'm crying.
It's okay, Diana.
I had
Just
the
take a breath,
privilege
take your time,
of
it's okay.
working with the Wilson staff for 2 years. So it is a magical place. It's everything that they said. And I left to move on to a different role, and that wasn't really available here. So I'm here today as a parent in district and to support our teachers. And in the time that I've left, I've been gone maybe 6-7 years. I'm just gonna say it. I don't know how, but central office has become so top heavy, and these teachers since then, there's this demoralization that's not Caldwell-West Caldwell. So look into it. People are resigning and fleeing. We can't get them back. You had a gem that took over Mr. Kina's position. She was Wilson, okay? And how this happened, look into it, figure it out. Because who wants to walk into this now? Who wants to step into a district where teachers are feeling this way? And I wasn't going to say anything. I'm just here in support. I have no prepared comments. And I will gather my thoughts. I've sent an email about a different issue, didn't hear back. There needs to be better transparency, and figure it out. Because we're sick as parents. We can't lose these people, because who's going to take their place? Teaching has been decimated over this time, and Mrs. Sasso, Vicki Sasso said it beautifully. Every teacher that's spoken has said it beautifully. Don't be tone deaf, please.
Thank you, Diana. Anyone else? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Amy Azari, kindergarten teacher at Washington School. I also did not plan on speaking tonight, nor have I actually ever spoken at one of these, but I just feel so inclined, and I think that it's important to bring up another point. We've exhausted the point of curriculum and the changes and the problems that are associated with that. But I'd just like to tell you about the last 3 weeks in my classroom. My teaching assistant retired or moved before the holiday, has not been replaced. Every day I'm finding out if there's going to be someone, and if there is, they're always kind and patient and gracious and patient with me, more importantly, but they don't know my classroom and they don't know my students, so there's only so much that they can do to help and be productive. Unfortunately, during the holidays, my husband and I both got COVID. Because of the quarantine rules, our 14-month-old daughter was then not allowed to go to daycare. So not only was I dealing with my own quarantine for the first 2 days coming back from break and the stress that that would put on my students that were returning, I then had to figure out childcare for my daughter for 14 days. And on top of all of that, I came back on the Wednesday to 10 remote kindergarten learners who had never been on a computer before, certainly not to learn anything of value, in addition to the 12 students in my classroom without an experienced adult or an adult in the room at all. I'm also 7 months pregnant, and I'm not telling anybody this to make anyone feel bad for me. We all are going through this at the same time. My point, there's 2 points. Number one, COVID is the challenge here. We're still dealing with it. And I just think it's important to let that be what's making everything difficult and not all of these other things. The other reason is because I want to be seen as a person. Other people are having childcare issues. Other people are dealing with sicknesses and illnesses in their own families. Other people are stressed, and other people are trying to manage their jobs and their homes in all of this too. Not only do I feel like I'm not being looked at as a human being, but I don't think our little people that we teach are either. Hearing about these recess curriculums and all of these other curriculums, it was only 3 years ago that we switched to full day kindergarten. And a couple of teachers and one principal were invited to attend the Department of Education guidelines for best practices of full day kindergarten. The only thing that really changed from half day kindergarten was that our kids were allowed to play every day. Unstructured, free choice playtime. They also included rest time, snack time, and other social times during the day. We officially don't have any of that. We don't have rugs in our classroom to sit together and discuss a long weekend. We don't have kitchen play sets for them to use their imagination. Every time we've asked about it, first it became contact. We weren't sure if COVID had to do with touching things or not. I think we've moved past that. We get new guidelines every day. I'm still not exactly sure what they are. But my 10 remote students did incredibly well for 2 weeks. But that didn't make me feel good, because they shouldn't. They're 5. For the first time in my 8 years of teaching kindergarten, I had 4 children referred from our vision test at school to get glasses. The only thing that's changed in 8 years is that most of them attended preschool, as they say, on the iPad. So my point is that I think we would be a lot more successful with everything if we all saw each other, including the little people that we teach, as people and humans that need socialization. If there's one thing we should have learned from the pandemic, it's that we all thrive on socialization and being around each other. And I think that we've gotten so far away from that. I'm honestly terrified about what this means for my children and the young people that are coming through our schools. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come up and make a comment? Just want to make sure, because I don't want to close the meeting without giving everyone here who took the time to come out here today the opportunity to speak and share their voice. Okay, that being said, I just want to make a quick statement to say that you can see that we have been taking copious notes. Please understand, when the board sits here and we're silent, it's because that's by design. You are heard and you are being listened to. And the only way for us to move forward as a district is together. We'll say that we reorganized the board last week. The Community Liaison Committee was put into place, chaired by Ms. Getty and co-chaired by myself, to give the Teachers Association a seat at the table with the board. So we will be reaching out to schedule a meeting for that, okay? And I'm also very happy that you were able to connect with Dan. That was something that was important to the board as well. We're grateful to Mr. Cipoletti for making the time. But again, we love our district, we love our children, we love our teachers, and we all believe that we are all here together to move everyone forward, but we have to do it together. And that's what's important. So just everyone understand that here in this room tonight, okay? I just want to say that. I also want to thank you all for taking the time to come here on a Tuesday night and to share your voices and to be vulnerable. Some of you did it scripted, some of you didn't, but the message was heard loud and clear, however else that was done. Now, the board is going to make, I will want someone to make a motion for us to enter executive session to continue conversations based upon personnel, negotiations, litigations, and other matters. Okay, may I have a motion for the board to enter back into executive session? We will not be returning to public session. I know sometimes people might want to wait here, but we will not be coming back. We will enter executive session and we will adjourn from there, okay? May I have a motion to enter executive? Oh, yeah.
There will be no further action either tonight.
No, there will be no further action either tonight. No further action on any other items tonight. Okay, is that okay, Brian? Everything
Yes, that's
good?
correct.
Okay. Hey, listen, I'm not used to doing this, just making sure I check all the legal marks. May I have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Yep. And a second?
Second.
Brian, can you take the roll, please?
Sure, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Yep.